On the road to MotoGP, this is FAB-Racing.
I'm here with Charlie Huntingford racing this season in the MKGP 70s. Charlie, you've got to be looking forward to this season.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I've got a really strong bike and I'm feeling really good on the bike. I feel nice and relaxed and feel like I have a good pace.
Now you've, of course, we saw you last season on the LC40 Elite bikes. You've moved up to the bigger bikes, said that you may be a little bit too big for them, but how's the bike feeling out on circuit here, round one, round two?
There's loads of grip on the track and it's quite stable. It's not too bumpy either and there's quite a lot of grip.
And it's looking a pretty stacked paddock and a pretty stacked grid this season. So looking around you, shoulder to shoulder, who do you think is going to be on your tail this weekend?
I think there'll be like Samuel Munson, Clayton Edmonds, people like that. I'll be trying to get in front of them off the start.
And come the end of the season, what's the goal for you? A couple of race wins, pushing towards that championship?
Yeah, I want to just try and get some podiums, maybe some top fives this year.
And well, best place to do it is on the track, so we're looking forward to it. Good luck this weekend, Charlie.
Thank you.
Lovely. I'm here with Mason Foster, running in the MKGP 70 class this season. Mason, looking forward to this. It's looking as though the grid's pretty full, looking pretty strong this year.
Yeah, of course. The grids are always strong, but hopefully we can come out on top this year. That is the aim. And yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Obviously, you picked up a win here at Lydd last year, so you've got to think coming into this one, you've got a pretty good feel of the circuit. What's it feel like? You've had a couple of laps out there of seat time.
Yeah, it's really grippy out there. First quali's gone okay. Got third. Still feel like I've got a bit more to give in Q2, so hopefully we can put it on pole.
Looking towards the end of the season, you've got to think that you're going to be wanting heading up that championship and pushing towards the BTC at the end of this season. So what's the goal for you?
For me, the goal is to win the championship this year and then hopefully progress to BTC next year.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Hopefully you can do that, and we'll see you on track this weekend.
Okay, thank you.
I'm here with Filip Surowiak, who's running in the MKGP 70s this season. Filip, who seemingly hasn't rested at all over the winter period. All I've seen on you from social media is you out on the circuit, so obviously you're looking forward to this one.
Yeah, I am a lot. I'm looking forward to the season, just trying to get that first podium or first win.
And obviously, as you say, you've been working on the bike a lot over the winter period, so how's it feeling as you've had your couple of laps out here on Lydd?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty strong now, just getting used to the 70 and just pushing more and more.
So what's a realistic target for you this season? Obviously you've said you're targeting that win. Where do you think you'll be able to get yourself figured in the rest of this season?
Just push as hard as I can. Maybe a top 3. That's kind of my objective, so yeah.
Well, you're looking really sharp out there and looking really good on social media, putting a lot of work in as this man Filip Surowiak. Looking forward to it. Have a great weekend, buddy.
Thank you, you too.
This is the premier class of FAB-Racing, and well, the grid this season, Trystan, is looking absolutely astronomically packed full of talent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the talent that we saw last year in the GP50s has all moved up to the GP70s. Also, some talent from last year have stayed. The likes of Clayton Edmonds that we saw winning in the GP50s earlier, he's in this one as well. He'll be looking to try and get a win here as well. A little bit further down on the grid in the 70s compared to where he is in the 50s. Last year's double champion, Ethan Sparks, he won the AC40 Pros and the GP50s, is here in the GP70s, and plenty of talent in this one. The list goes on and on. Ronnie Harris, who was last year's runner-up, he's in this one. Filip Surowiak, who's had some good results last year. Best result is a 5th, but non-stop training during the winter. There is so many names that could go out there and win races.
Yeah, as you say, there are so many names in this season. I've been looking forward to this one all winter long because it has been looking like anyone's, but it will be the man that took home 2 championships last season, Ethan Sparks, on the AC40 Pros and on the GP50s, lining up on pole position in the GP70s, showing an almost seamless transition to the Premier class. He'll have Henry McCartney in second place, and that's a name that we're not too accustomed to. However, Henry McCartney made a couple of appearances in Fab last season, impressed a lot, lining up in second position, a good lap time from there. We'll see what he can do up against Ethan.
Yeah, we've seen him at Fab in the past on the Minimotos. Very fast rider indeed. Second place on the grid. He came last year at Clay Pigeon on one of the Ovala machines and dominated in that category. He's been quick all the while. He's had a bit of a break from Fab, but he is back and he is quick as ever.
Yeah. But it will be Ethan Sparks on pole position ahead of Henry McCartney. Mason Foster, of course, 2-time AC40 Pro champion, and the man wanting this title. He's already told us this is what he's eyeing up this season. He'll be lining up third with Filip Surowiak fantastically qualifying in 4th place, probably the hardest working rider over the winter. Ollie Horner in 5th with Ben Jolliffe 6th. Ronnie Harris in 7th with Sullivan Mounsey in 8th. Harry Payne 9th with Clayton Edmonds 10th. Then we've got Charlie Huntingford and Sam Munson in 11th and 12th, with Karen Sewell and Blake Wilson in 13th and 14th. Row 8 and 15th is Greg Marshall with Luke Schofield alongside him. Then Josh Bannister and Ted Wilkinson in 17th and 18th. And rounding out the grid on row 10 is Casey Sperry and Paddy Moore, making up 20 riders on this field, and no one can call who's going to win this race.
Absolutely packed grid. So many of these names could do it, but it is looking likely that it's going to be these guys at the front. And the number 62 of Ethan Sparks is looking really, really hot in this one. He's looking really strong at the front of this GP70 championship so far this weekend, but it is the first race for the premier class of the FAB-Racing Minibike British Championships. All these riders on the road to Moto GP, and their final step before they move up into the big tracks. They'll have their sights set on the likes of British Challenge Cup, British Junior Supersport, and the likes. So it is all down to what they can do here. They're all going to be looking to set their 2021 season campaign off to a highest start as possible as we wait to get this race underway. You can see the number 146, Clayton Edmonds, a bit further back there. Watch out for him. He got a blinding start earlier on in the GP50s, so he might very well do the same thing here as well. Just looks as if Josh Bannister just needs to get his bike restarted there further back on the grid. So we're just waiting for him in this one as we just wait to get this race going and underway, but he is back and started, so they'll be going to be looking to the lights now for race 1 for the MKGP 70s, the first race of 2021. All these riders, I bet their nerves are really setting in here as they're held on the grid, but now eyes to the lights. The lights will go on and they will be out very shortly. It's a good start from Ethan Sparks, who holds on to that lead. Mason Foster up into second place off the start. Well, they're all side by side as they go through the first complex. They all make it through in one piece somehow. Cameron Sewell's in there further back as well, you can see, and I think there's a rider down there's that Henry McCartney, I think it is. That is your second place man on the grid. Henry McCartney down and out of this race on the first lap.
Yeah, unfortunately for McCartney there, he really bogged down off the line and just into the second chicane. It looks as though he just lost the bike, but up ahead, it is Ethan Sparks. It's got a monster of a start. Mason Foster is trying to go with him down the back straight behind. Filip Surowiak is trying to hold off Ollie Horner in fourth and fifth place as well. So it's been a great start for Filip Surowiak. He's just dropped off the back of Mason Foster, but he's now got the 44 of Sullivan Mounsey in fourth place behind him. Ollie Horner down to fifth. Ben Jolliffe in sixth. Clayton Edmonds has made his way up to seventh place. Good start once again from Clayton.
Yeah, good start from Sullivan Mounsey as well, also in fourth place, of course. Also British Talent Cup rider over for FAB-Racing as well, so a good start for him. The number 44 in fourth in this race. But Ethan Sparks leading this one, just edging out a slight bit of a gap, but number 88 of Mason Foster doesn't want to let him go. Further back, we have a yellow flag further back, so we'll have to find out to see what happened there. Looks like there's a couple of riders down in the background. Sullivan Mounsey looking really menacing behind Filip Surowiak. Surowiak could be on for his first podium ever in the GP70s and in the Metro Kit classes. Of course, his best result last year in the GP50s was fifth place, so he's going to be looking to consolidate on that and try and finish in the top three here. Clayton Edmonds is a bit further back in seventh, battling with Ben Jolliffe and Ronnie Harris, so battles all through this one. Also Ollie Horner in there as well, of course, a rider we're used to seeing very strong last year. But Ben Jolliffe up the inside of Ollie Horner. That's the battle for 5th place. So a brilliant ride from Ben Jolliffe there, a rider we saw who showed sparks of talent last year.
Yeah, but the man that is showing sparks of talent at the moment is Ethan Sparks himself, leading away from... Well, in fact, there's...
I think that's Ethan Sparks is down. Yeah, Ethan Sparks is down and out of this race at the final corner. So Ethan Sparks, the man everyone had their money on, took pole position, topped all the practices, and he's gone down in the 3rd lap of 10 in this MKGP 70 race. He looks absolutely distraught. He's trying to get back out onto the racetrack, but it doesn't look like that bike is getting restarted. They're just trying to get it into gear there so they can get that bumped and restarted into this race. He looks absolutely distraught. He had it all there ready for him and he's thrown it away.
Oh, unfortunately, that's the first commentator's curse of the season, but it does promote Mason Foster up into the lead of this one, and Mason now with a pretty comfortable 2.2 second advantage over Filip Surowiak, who's doing a brilliant job of holding off BTC rider Sullivan Mounsey behind. In 3rd place, Ben Jolliffe made his way up to 4th. Clayton Edmonds is really climbing the standings now, up to 5th position. Of course, started 10th on the grid. Ronnie Harris, of course, runner-up in the MKGP 50s last season, now up to 6th place. So it's a good start from Ronnie Harris. Ollie Horner, unfortunately, just dropping back, it seems. Ollie just not quite on the pace in this first race of the season.
Yeah, Ollie just struggling a little bit in this one, down in 7th place. Not where we expect to see the number 70 of Ollie Horner. Of course, it is his first race, and you can just see there a little bit of a hug with his dad. He's absolutely distraught. So that is Gavin and Ethan just hugging it out there. Really unfortunate scenes for these guys. You can see every drop of emotion is shared between family and rider in these races, and you can really see it shining through there. But it is Mason Foster who's just carving through the traffic here. He's out front. He's got a solid lead of at least 2 seconds here at the front of this one, so he's comfortable in this one. All he needs to do is hit his markers and get it to the flag.
Well, Filip Surowiak has got the bit between his teeth because he's taken 0.6 of a second out of Mason Foster in the last 2 laps. Filip has noticed that he's now in 2nd position. He's got an 0.8 of a second gap between himself and Sullivan Mounsey behind him, and he can see that race win. And I was speaking to him earlier, and he said, well, if I can get on the podium, that would be brilliant, but I'm not sure if it's there for wins yet. But, well, at the moment, he's in 2nd place. He's closing in. He's now taken just under half the tenth off of Mason Foster once again. So really starting to put the pace down. But with 6 laps left to go in this one, we are watching the MKGP 70s, the premier class at FAB-Racing, the final step before they head off to the British Talent Cup on their road to MotoGP, as we find the next British talent and as they to push on to the big bites, the big circuits. And will it be Mason Foster? He's got his eye on the championship, and now Ethan Sparks unfortunately doesn't make it to the end of this one. Mason's eyes would have lit up as that happened. He's now trying to hold off Filip Surowiak, and Filip Surowiak, in fact, involved in this battle with Sullivan Mounsey. Those two going toe-to-toe with each other. Behind Ben Jolliffe is starting to get himself in that battle.
Ben Jolliffe is right on the rear wheel of Sullivan Mounsey. Ben Jolliffe has been climbing through the field. We said earlier on that we saw flashes of brilliance from him last year, and this is another flash of brilliance from Ben Jolliffe. And hopefully he can continue that through the season, as well as he's right on the rear wheel of Sullivan Mounsey. He wants a podium in this one. Well, they all do, but only 3 of them can have it. Mason Foster, fastest lap of the race on that last lap. 2.5 second lead now ahead of Filip Surowiak. He's on a pretty lonely 2nd place, but Sullivan Mounsey and Ben Jolliffe, it's between those two for the final spot on this MKGP 70 podium. Just looking at the number 20 of Casey Sperry, he's a little bit further back there. This is the battle for 13th. He's got a little bit of breathing space over the riders behind him, but just enjoying life on that GP70 machine. All these riders doing a brilliant job getting these laps in the early stages of this race. Number 2, Josh Bannister, a little bit further back than we're used to seeing him, but I was just speaking to his dad earlier, just having a few, hasn't ridden in a while, of course, injuries last year, and just struggling with a little bit of straight line speed on that bike as well.
Yeah, and just go back to Casey Sperry, he's up in 13th position, a great start after moving up from 19th, so a good start there from the 20. Up ahead, however, Mason Foster is starting to put the pressure back on Filip Surowiak. He's extended that gap from 2 seconds up to 2.5 seconds, and he's starting to put in some really hot laps. He's gone green and purple, so Mason Foster's starting to put the pressure on. He's got 3 laps left to go. He was a race winner at round 1 last season here at Lydd. Unfortunately, the weather conditions are completely different. He managed to take it away in a monsoon-like wet race, but this time around, he said early on, it's a very grippy circuit, and well, he's making the absolute most of it. He's leading this one by 2.4 seconds.
Yeah, he seemed a bit down in the dumps earlier when I spoke to him. He just wanted that extra little bit of edge to get the win, but now he is in a very good place to be getting that win. Of course, the 11-year-old from Norfolk is flying around this circuit, and it would have been really interesting to see what he could have done with Ethan Sparks and how those two would have battled it out. Of course, those two did battle it here last year in the GP50s, taking wins off of each other last year before Mason Foster decided to stay and focus on the GP70 class last year, and it's paid off because he is flying out the front of this one, fastest lap of the race, and just putting down the pace. A good, solid, consistent pace for Mason. 11 laps down, so he starts the final lap of the race.
Yeah, Mason Foster with one final tour of this Lydd kart circuit, and since unfortunately Ethan Sparks' fall earlier on, he's just had to keep it cool, calm and collected, and that's exactly what the 88 has done. Filip Surowiak still holding on to second with a bit of a gap between himself and Sullivan Mounty, so it would be a debut podium for Filip Surowiak, but coming onto the back straight, the 88 of Mason Foster is just making his way through some lap traffic. Not many corners left to go for Mason. He's just going to back it off there. That's quite clever of him, just not getting involved in the fight, but he's going to come up to the line, and well, what a win there for Mason Foster. You've got to give it to him. Filip Surowiak, second place, brilliant result for the young man there. Only 1.4 seconds. Tried to edge it in with Mason backing out of that fight into the final corner. Sullivan Mounsley in third with Ben Jolliffe. Brilliant race there from Ben up to fourth. Clayton Edmonds from 10th to 5th. That's going to be a brilliant race for Clayton to boost his confidence in this GP70 class. Yeah,
solid ride there from Clayton to make up those positions from 10th to 5th. Rounding out your top 10 is Luke Schofield, who we saw earlier on in the GP50 category as well, who Clayton was battling out with, of course. Clayton taking the win earlier on, but brilliant ride from Mason Foster. He won here last year at Lydd. He's won here again this year on that number 88 machine. The number 75 of Filip Surowiak, a solid ride from him. His first podium on a Metro kit, and he's done it on his debut on a GP70. Finished 14th in the GP50s last year, and he's come back completely confident, showing what he can do.
Yeah, and like we said at the start of this race, you do not know where any of these race winners are coming from, because it could be anywhere. Mason Foster, yesterday's winner, and Filip Surowiak alongside him. Of course, first and second yesterday came from third and fourth on the grid. Will they be able to do anything about it? It looks as though they're both very quick riders this season, and watch out for the 88 of Mason Foster. I'm sure he'll be buoyed after yesterday's result. He will be looking at getting that move down on Ethan Sparks, but Ethan Sparks, of course, champion in the AC40 Pros and the MKGP 50s last season, came into this season very much as the favourite. Mason Foster, starting from third, wants to say something about that. Henry McCartney, what can he do from second?
Henry McCartney, a rider very quick indeed, took a little bit of a break from FAB-Racing. We saw him at one round last year on the Ovala, but now is back. We saw him in Minimotos a few years ago, but now he's back in FAB-Racing and he's looking to pick up the points. This is the premier class in the FAB-Racing for the juniors. They look to the lights for the second time in 2021. Mason Foster looks really racy off of the start. Sullivan Mounds is taking a really wide line into the first corner, but it is the Ethan Sparks who has the lead off of pole position. A brilliant start from Easton. They're all side by side as they go through the first corner. Ethan Sparks, Filip Surowiak, a brilliant start for him up into second.
Yeah, Filip Surowiak from fourth from the grid into second. A great launch off the line, straight up the inside and into second place behind. They're all filtering into position, everyone through the first few corners. It looks as though unscathed, which is great to see, but it is Ethan Sparks leading from Filip Surowiak, but Filip starting to put the pressure on Ethan Sparks already on this first lap. Mason Foster's not had a great start at all, and he's down the order a little bit, but Filip Surowiak starting to put the pressure on Ethan Sparks at the end of this first lap as they come around. Filip Surowiak with the fastest lap off of a standing start of 43.414. He's 0.4 of a second faster than Ethan Sparks. He's had an absolute monster of a start.
He's come out guns blazing, has Filip Surowiak, a brilliant little rider on the number 75. Of course, this is his debut season on the GP70, spending last year in the 50 category. Henry McCartney just dropping back a little bit is the number 31 with an incident on circuit there with, I think that's one of the riders off on the side of the circuit. We'll have to find out what happened with that a little bit later on, but it is Ethan Sparks still leading this one, and there is number 88, Mason Foster. He's just lost a few positions here. Is Mason down in 7th place, of course, yesterday's race winner, currently behind the number 66 of Ronnie Harris, and there is the rider to the side of the circuit on the white bike. But we are away and racing. It is the number 31 of Henry McCartney in 3rd place. He's defending that podium position from Sullivan Mounsey, Ben Jolliffe, Ronnie Harris, Mason Foster, Clayton Edmonds. They're all in there. They all want podium points.
Yeah, and this time around, Filip Surowiak beating his fastest lap. He went even faster, 42.212, is 0.06 of a second faster than Ethan Sparks. The gap at the front is 0.2 of a second, and they've broken away from 3rd place by 1.5 seconds already. Mason Foster, with a disaster of a start, has dropped down to 7th position. He's got to fight back later on in this one, but Filip Surowiak starting to really make Ethan Sparks sweat as they go around the first chicane for the 3rd time. And the man that started 4th on the grid, now in 2nd position. He eyed up a podium. He got a podium yesterday. Can he get his first debut win in the MKGP 70s, his first season in this class?
Right on the rear wheel of Ethan Sparks is Filip Surowiak. He's really pushing on that number 75 GP70 machine. And don't forget, Ethan Sparks, we've seen him been dominating all weekend. Apart from his crash yesterday, he was leading when he crashed, and he was on pole position. He's topped pretty much every session so far this weekend. And Filip Surowiak, to be sticking with him, is doing an incredible job. Of course, Ethan Sparks, double champion from last year, GP50 and AC40 Pro champion on that number 62 machine. He's now solely focused on the GP70, the premier class here at FAB-Racing, and he's focused on taking this title and moving up into the British Talent Cup next year. But there is a long way to go for this MKGP70 championship. Your current championship leader will be Mason Foster. He won the race for race 1 yesterday, the number 88, 7th place in this race at the moment. He's going to want to be climbing through. He's in that battle for the podium, so the podium is very much in contention for him as he looks up the inside of Ben Jolliffe at the final corner. Can't quite make a move stick there, but all these guys just studying each other, just finding out where they are weak, where they're strong, and preparing for that final lap of the race.
Yeah, cracking battle between Henry McCartney, Sullivan Mounsey, Ronnie Harris, Ben Jolliffe and Mason Foster, all fighting over a podium position. Filip Surowiak and Ethan Sparks have been trading fastest laps every single lap so far this race. Filip Surowiak doing a 42 flat, Ethan Sparks doing a 42 flat, so they're just eking out. It's hundredths of a second every single lap on each other, but all they're doing is just absolutely pulling away from the chasing pack of Henry McCartney, Sullivan Mounsey and Ronnie Harris, equally with Ben Jolliffe and Mason Foster in tow. Filip Surowiak starting to put the pressure on Ethan Sparks late in this lap. They're going to come across the line with 0.3 of a second gap. Henry McCartney is doing a great job at the moment holding off this chasing quartet of riders, and he's currently holding on to a 3rd place finish, which would be better than his early retirement from yesterday's race. But Sullivan Mounsey looking very racy. Ronnie Harris having a good run in 5th position at the moment. He's had a couple of looks at the inside of Sullivan, and you can see he's just eyeing up when he can make that move.
Yeah, Sullivan Mounsey, of course, British Talent Cup rider as well, so riding over there with FAB-Racing, a team that you'll be used to seeing in the BSB paddock, of course, running Joe Francis and Brad Jones in the British Superbike Championship as well. And Mason Foster now has climbed up to 6th place. He's got himself ahead of the number 125 of Ben Jolliffe. So Mason Foster, yesterday's race winner, climbing through this field.
5 laps left to go in this second race of the season for the MKGP 70s, and it is Ethan Sparks from Filip Surowiak. Filip Surowiak going even quicker. He's done a 41, the only rider into the 41s, and he's currently right on the tail of Ethan Sparks. We've gone through half this race. Ethan Sparks is still holding on to the lead, but Filip Surowiak is absolutely piling on the pressure. Henry McCartney in third position is still holding on to that podium ahead of Sullivan Mounsey, Ronnie Harris, Mason Foster and Ben Jolliffe behind. There's still battles going on as Ted Wilkinson starts to try and look at holding on to position 14th ahead of Josh Bannister, who's trying to get ahead of him into a top 14 position. And Paddy Moore having a fight with Cam Saul down in 17th and 18th. But it is Ethan Sparks and Filip Surowiak. And Filip clearly absolutely lit up by that podium yesterday, right on the back of Ethan Sparks.
He can smell blood, can't he? He knows that there is a win in at the bag here if he can get himself past Ethan Sparks. Of course, Ethan, such an incredible rider at FAB-Racing. He's topped all the sessions here for the GP70s, double champion last year in the 40 Pros and in the GP50s, but they're just coming up to a bit of traffic, and that's just backing them up slightly. They both need to be able to get through this as cleanly as they can. Filip Surowiak looks to the inside of the back marker, makes his way through now right onto the rear wheel of Ethan Sparks. Filip Surowiak, the 12-year-old based in London. Best achievement last year was 5th place in the GP50s. That was back at Rowrah. Finished 14th in the GP50s last year in 2020, and now battling for the win in the Premier class.
It's a remarkable upturn in form for Filip Surowiak, and I had him down in as my dark horse for this championship because he's been putting in so much work over the winter period. He has not stopped. He's been it's a different circuit seemingly every single day, putting in the laps, getting some seat time, and it's clearly paying dividends. He's now up there racing with your two-time champion, or your category champion from last season, Ethan Sparks, who is equally making a great move up to the GP70s. You can't sleep on Ethan. He's made that move up. This is his first season in GP70s, and he's out leading this race.
Yeah, and if my maths is correct, because of course Filip Surowiak finished second place yesterday, if he finishes second or first in this race with Mason Foster down in 6th, he will have the championship lead as well. So a brilliant ride for Filip Surowiak. A few more back markers to cope with though for these guys as they come on to start lap 11. This is the final lap of the race for these guys as they come across there and manage to just get through on the back marker there. But has Filip Surowiak managed to make his way through? He has, but he's lost quite a bit of time there.
Yeah, he has, but will that open the door for Ethan Sparks just to take a little bit of a breather? Surely not, because Filip Surowiak will be putting the pressure on. He's still got the fastest lap of the race, the only rider into the 41s this race distance. But you can see Ethan Sparks with just a few more corners left to go. He's going to go onto the back straight, just needs to keep it on 2 wheels. Down the back straight into the final corner. Of course, it was the final corner where he came up a cropper yesterday. He's got one final corner to go. Ethan Sparks is looking to pick up his first win in the MKGP 70s, and he does it. Filip Surowiak, a second podium of his career here in FAB, and takes the lead in the MKGP 70 Championship behind Henry McCartney. Just holds off Ronnie Harris that managed to get up just under 0.2 of a second. Fantastic defensive riding there from Henry McCartney. Ronnie Harris will be gutted to miss that one out, but what a win from Ethan Sparks. Definitely needed that one after yesterday's result. Yeah,
incredible victory for Ethan Sparks. He was outgunning for it yesterday, just pushed a little bit too hard yesterday and crashed out, but now he's taken that win. Number 19 seems to have some sort of technical problem at the side, I believe. That is Greg Marshall. That is number 19, Greg Marshall, that's unfortunately had a problem towards the side of the circuit. Unfortunate for the number 19 rider there, but it is the number 62, your man, your winner for this race 2 for the MKGP 70s. He's made up for his crash yesterday, and he's gone out and scored 25 solid points in his attempt to take this GP70 title.
Yeah, and he will be absolutely delighted as Greg Marshall down to the side of the track as he looks to get that bike re-going. Unfortunately not finishing in this one, down in 19th position, but it is Ethan Sparks that takes the win ahead of Filip Surowiak in second position. Henry McCartney rounds out your MKGP 70 podium, but it was a brilliant start from Surowiak in second, managing to sit up Henry McCartney into turn 1 almost immediately with an absolute rocket off the start, but Ethan Sparks held on to the lead going around the first lap. Behind, you could see battles going on all throughout the field as they all tried to hold on to position. Sam Munson not having a great race. He finished down the order as well. But Henry McCartney and this battle that went on between himself and Sullivan Mounsey in the end getting overtaken by Ronnie Harris. Ronnie really putting the pressure on. He's making a good move up to this MKGP 70 class. He's definitely going to be eyeing up some podiums, but it was Ethan Sparks that took your win ahead of Filip Surowiak. Filip, who was absolutely buzzing with yesterday's result, is going to be thinking, well, he's a man pretty much on cloud 9 at the moment.
It is Ethan Sparks who will line up on your pole position, though. He is race 2 winner from earlier on. Henry McCartney finished on the podium earlier on, the number 31. He'll line up second place on the grid. Mason Foster, the number 88, he is third, just ahead of Filip Surowiak. The number 70 of Ollie Horner, he is in 5th place on the grid. Ben Jolliffe on the 125, he is 6th. Ronnie Harris in 7th, just ahead of the 44 Sullivan Mounsey, British Talent Cup rider, in 8th. Harry Payne and Clayton Edmonds make up row 5, ahead of Charlie Huntingford, Sam Munson, Cameron Sewell, Blake Wilson and Greg Marshall rounding out your top 15. Luke Schofield is 16th on the grid, just ahead of Josh Bannister in 17th. Ted Wilkinson, Casey Sperry, Paddy Moore and Felix Dorlin round out your grid. 21 riders here ready to do battle in the MKGP 70s.
Yeah, cannot wait for this one. The MKGP 70s, always an absolute supreme thing to watch, especially on a sunny Saturday afternoon here at Lydd. And we get ready to look to the lights as they're about to complete their first round of the season. Ethan Sparks versus Henry McCartney off the line. Henry's pointing towards Ethan, but he's not going to get the run. Mason Foster with a brilliant start up into second position, but it is Ethan Sparks that holds on to the lead of this one. You can see Mason Foster straight from third on the grid into second, used that run and a brilliant launch into T1, and now he's directly behind Ethan Sparks, who's charging away down to the back end of the circuit for the first time as they sweep around the exit off the hairpin down towards turn 4. Filip Surowiak is going with them as well, so Filip Surowiak now in third position, having jumped Henry McCartney. He's going to chase after Mason Foster. Mason, who didn't have the best of races in race 2, is now back on Ethan Sparks, but Filip Surowiak charging down towards him, in towards the final corner, and Filip Surowiak, who will have the wind beneath his sails, will be sending it into the final corner. Can't quite get the move done, but he's shaping up into turn 1. This is a great start from all three of them.
Yeah, fastest lap from a standing start goes to Filip Surowiak. A brilliant start from him. Was just eyeing up a move into turn 1. Not quite sure if he managed to make that stick. No, that is still Mason Foster in second place. And with that slightly not quite on par performance that we're used to seeing from Mason earlier on, we're expecting him to try and give everything to try and beat Ethan Sparks, of course. Third place in the GP70s last year was number 88 of Mason Foster, so he's going to be looking to go one better this year and try and go all out for the championship. But it is Filip Surowiak who also is having a look at these guys. Henry McCartney also on the back of them as well, third place earlier on in race 2. Of course, Mason Foster already has a win this season. Ethan Sparks already has a win this season. So now it's down to Filip Surowiak and Henry McCartney. Can they get the third race win of the year and the third race win of the round 1? It looks pretty good with Ethan Sparks at the moment. He's hitting all his markers, hitting his lines, but it's not over just yet. There's only 2 laps into this race, and any of these 4 could take the win.
Yeah, absolutely so. Of course, Ethan Sparks coming off the 2020 season where he finished up as the AC40 Pro champion and the GP50 champion as well. Mason Foster, of course, formerly a 2-time AC40 Pro champion, and Filip Surowiak in his debut season on the MKGP 70s, hassling the pair of them. And in fact, they're being followed by Henry McCartney, who of course had a bit of a slow start, but he's now got himself back up in this leading quartet. But here comes Filip Surowiak, sending it down the inside of Mason Foster. What a move there from the 75, gets the move done, and now up into second position. Mason Foster just caught a little bit unaware there, probably wasn't expecting Filip Surowiak just to go for it, but what a move there from the blue.
Brilliant move from Filip Surowiak. Now he's going to have his sights set on the number 62 of Ethan Sparks. He's got one down now for the next, but Ethan doing a brilliant job out the front of this one, of course. He has been topping all the practice sessions so far. He's looking really strong. Sullivan Mounsey is now up to 5th place on the number 44, one of the British Talent Cup riders for 2021 as well. So keep an eye out for him. He's going to be climbing and trying to make the break up to these guys. But Ethan Sparks doing a brilliant job out the front. The 10 years old from down the road in Maidstone, the double champion in 2020, like you said, AC40 Pros and GP50 champion from last year. He had about over a 50% win rate last year, so he's going to be looking to try and do the same thing this year.
Yeah, as and background down further down the order, we've still got this battle now going on between Sullivan Mounsey, Ben Jolliffe and Ronnie Harris. Equally, they're bringing Ollie the Hornet Horner into play as well. So there's a fight going on from fifth down. Sullivan Mounsey, of course, the British Talent Cup rider on the 44 bike, bringing Ben Jolliffe. And Ben really impressing this season.
That's Henry McCartney, I think, that's gone down there on the number. It is, that's Henry McCartney that's gone down. We saw him go down yesterday and he's gone down again today, so he's crashed out of fourth place, and that was a potential podium for McCartney. Now it is a three-rider battle for the win with no McCartney, and Filip Surowiak just having a little look at Ethan Sparks down into the final corner.
Yeah, and Henry McCartney, that's exactly the same place, but unfortunately that's him out of this one. Back up at the front, Filip Surowiak chasing down Ethan Sparks as he's trying to go around the outside. Ethan Sparks putting that bike in all the right places and making it very difficult for Filip Surowiak, who's trying to make sure that he picks up his first win. He's going to look down the inside. Oh, he gets sat up a little bit, and that's going to open the door for Mason Foster, who's going to sweep around. We've got the 87 down, and that is Felix Dorling. Felix Dorling's down on the outside of the circuit. He looks as though he's back up on his feet. The bike's okay, but you can see Mason Foster now back up ahead of Filip Surowiak. Filip just trying that move that he tried on Mason Foster. Ethan Sparks closed the door, and that allowed Mason Foster to back up the inside of Filip Surowiak. So Filip now back to third place. Mason Foster now back up into second.
Yeah, Filip just needs to regroup. They're still just over halfway through this race, so plenty of time for him to have another go at it. Equally, Mason Foster needs to just try and make sure he can maintain a cool head behind Ethan Sparks. Looking a bit further back on the number 44, Sullivan Mounsey now up to fourth place with Henry McCartney crashing out, as Ronnie Harris makes a brilliant move for fourth place up the inside of Sullivan Mounsey. A brilliant move from him there. Ben Jolliffe also in that group, and Ollie Horner as well, changing colour scheme to yellow this year just to confuse us even more. But yeah, Sullivan Mounsey just lost out that position to Ronnie Harris. Of course, Ronnie last year's runner-up to the GP50s and runner-up to your race leader, Ethan Sparks. But now Filip Surowiak is now back up into second, with Mason Foster still holding on to that fastest lap from earlier on. But it is now Surowiak up into second place ahead of Foster. So we'll have to see what those two can do about Ethan Sparks. But now Ronnie Harris running away from Sullivan Mounsey a little bit.
Yeah, Ronnie Harris having probably his best run of the weekend so far. Now up into fourth position. And although there's a gap between himself and Mason Foster, this is just going to buoy his confidence that he knows that he can start to get past these riders. He can start to push up through the order, and he's starting to break away from Sullivan Mounsey on the 44 machine, and he's going to have himself around about a second's gap as they come around to start. 3 laps left to go. Ethan Sparks leading from Filip Surowiak and Mason Foster as they sweep around the first chicane and sweep into the second chicane. It almost comes up immediately, but Ethan Sparks doing exactly what he did in race 2, just holding Filip Surowiak at bay, not allowing him to have any sort of doors to be opened, much like we saw early on when Filip just tried to get down the inside and just unfortunately just sat himself up a little bit and opened the door for Mason Foster. This time around you can see the gap is just about opening up to allow them to just take a little bit of a breather and reset for the final 2 laps of the race. Filip Surowiak currently leading this championship after two second place finishes so far, currently on for a third, which would help out his attempt at leading the championship, leaving round 1. Of course, round 2 coming up in the next day or so. But Ethan Sparks, once again, this is showing exactly the promise we were expecting to see from the 2-time champion from last season, coming into GP70s and doing a great job so far.
Yeah, you can tell these guys are on the absolute limit because the field is stretching out. So Ethan Sparks really putting the hammer down, trying to break away, but Filip Surowiak isn't having any of it. He is glued to the back wheel of Ethan Sparks. Ethan going really defensive down into the last corner, and just has a little bit of an advantage now, a little bit of breathing space as they go on to start the final lap for this race 3 for the MKGP 70s. It has been. We have had a win for Mason Foster, a win for Ethan Sparks. Will we see a new winner in this race 3 for the MKGP 70s? Of course, riders aged from 10 to 15 years old in this category. It's their final step before they head over to the British Talent Cup and up to big track racing, and it looks as if Ethan Sparks has got enough of an advantage now. I don't think Filip Surowiak is close enough to make a move at the final corner. They go into the final corner for the final time. Ethan Sparks goes in real defensive anyway, and it is going to be Ethan Sparks that takes the final win for the race 3 MKGP 70s. Filip Surowiak a brilliant second place, Mason Foster in third, and it is Ronnie Harris that breaks away from Sullivan Mounsey to finish in fourth. Sullivan Mounsey in fifth. Ollie Horner, Ben Jolliffe, and plenty more riders to come.
Yeah, it's Clayton Edmonds that takes home 8th, so Clayton will be happy with a top 8 finish. Harry Payne, equally a brilliant result for Harry, then 9th place. Blake Wilson finishing in 10th, with Charlie Huntington, of course, last season's runner-up in the LC40 Elites, come home in 11th place, ahead of the Sam the Munson burner. But you can see Cam Sewell in 13th, Josh Bannister 14th, Luke Schofield in 15th, Casey Sperry in 16th, and unfortunately Henry McCartney, after that fall earlier on at the same corner that we saw him go down in race 1, he is down the order. But it is Ethan Sparks, your race winner, just about holding on to it ahead of Filip Surowiak in second position. Mason Foster, who took the fastest lap on the last lap of the race, tried to close it in on Filip Surowiak, takes third place. Ronnie Harris in fourth, with Sullivan Mounsey in fifth. Ollie Horner in sixth, with Ben Jolliffe seventh. Clayton Edmonds eighth, and Harry Payne and Blake Wilson round out your top 10. As Filip Surowiak, the FS75 flag flies high across the Lydd circuit, and I'm sure after this first 3 races we'll be absolutely delighted with the possibly the story of the season so far.
On the road to MotoGP, this is FAB Racing.